Do you know, after this trip, it made me realize that you've been on now 2 Wish class cruise ships. The was it Treasure and the Destiny without me?
Without you.
Yeah.
I'm just a lucky lady. They were really good too. Like this one, the Disney Destiny, is not one to miss. So don't you worry, we'll be going soon. But let's get into it. Let's talk about Destiny, yeah? Welcome to Princess and Scoundrel, where we take you along our scrappily ever after, from Fantasyland to Tatooine to the destiny of heroes and villains in between. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Steven.
And he's salty that I went on a cruise without him.
A little bit, yeah.
The man who didn't think he
I
would be a
vowed
cruise
I would never
guy.
be on a cruise ship, and now
Look at us.
I'm jealous.
Which is wild. So let's set the scene a little bit.
All right, set it.
I believe at the time that this video comes out will actually be the first official maiden voyage sailing of Disney's newest cruise ship, the Disney Destiny. As a travel agent, our agency was invited to go on the christening sailing of it. And so we got like a 3-night preview of the cruise ship. And one, it's really dope. But I really haven't gotten to experience it as like a true guest because
and I'm glad you say that, because this is my tiff whenever there's like the media type things, media events, because a lot of the times when we talk about it, we typically go as a paying customer.
Right.
And whenever you see like the preview cruises or media cruises or whatever, there's always like that little bit of extra magic that sometimes is annoying because you don't get that with a normal ticket.
Right.
And so I always kind of like, I'm prefacing it like, this is, you experience it in a way that not others are probably going to experience it, but that also you didn't experience it any different way.
Right. So it's a little, I guess let me explain how these preview sailings work, like a little bit of a behind the scenes, and then we can get into it, because any of the things that I experienced that I will talk about or I will cover are things that any paying customer would experience. Now, we were on the christening sailing, which had media on it and travel agents. There were special tracks for media where they got to go meet different cast members there and go up on stage for the Hercules show and like see some of the props and those types of things. We didn't get to do that. We got more things like room tours and photo ops where they would have the specialty cocktails out for us to take pictures of. So all of those things that we did were things that you could do if you paid. If you want to pay for the tower suite, you could pay for that and you could be in that space. I was like, I'm going to go check that one out because there's no other way I will ever be in this space. So there's different things, and they give you like swag and all of that stuff too. And it's like, I don't show any of that stuff because that's not something that a paying customer is going to get when they show up in their room and they have like a free hat or a patch or something. Yeah. So yes.
Although they do have like inaugural cruising, like little, they typically give like a little cup, a thermos or a bag or something like that, don't they?
Royal Caribbean does that?
No, I thought Disney does too. The Castaway, the silver and stuff like that.
They give Castaway stuff, but it's specific to Castaway. It's not specific to the ship that you're on. With this time, we got like inaugural sailing Destiny stuff. But you could go buy it in the gift shop too if you really wanted to. So yeah, it's a little bit different. I was also on a 3-night sailing of this ship. And because it was set up in a way for media and the christening was one of the nights and it's a little shorter than their normal itinerary, they didn't have probably like the full scale of things that they normally would. Like there's 3 restaurants that you rotate through. And because the christening was on the first night during dinner, most people didn't go to their dinner that night. So we only got like 2 of the 3 dinners, like kind of things like that. So did I get to experience it full blown as a paying customer? No. But did I get to experience a lot of the things that you would, and a lot of the things that made this ship different than the Wish or the Treasure? Yes, I did. And like I said, it was really dope.
All right, so you're talking about how this one's better, but again, in my head, it's the same layout, same layout as the Wish, and I've been on that. But the Treasure and now the Destiny, how are they, like every time you're like, oh, this one's better. Oh, no, this one's better. Like, how do they compare? I thought they were the same.
They are mostly the same. So when you talk about like
Well, okay, so and the one thing I know is they don't have hyperspace lounge. So I know that. I know they have
the Haunted Mansion.
The Haunted Mansion part.
Yeah. So anytime you talk about like a ship class in general, it basically means that the layout of the ship is the same, and a lot of the spaces or the themes may be the same, but then there's going to be some differentiation in theming or style. So Wish class ships, the Wish, the Treasure, and the Destiny are all laid out identically. If you go up to the pool deck, you would not know if you were on which ship you're on. They're exactly the same. You have Marceline Market, you have the Festival of Foods. The pool deck is exactly the same. Even some of the spaces, like the restaurants on all of these ships, they have Worlds of Marvel dining and 1923, like a steak restaurant. The third one is the one that varies between it. And so on this ship, it was Pride Lands, Festival of the Lion. I think it was Festival of the Lion King. What were my notes saying? Feast of the Lion King. So that's that one that's kind of the dinner in the round where there's the stage in the center. Like I said, we were on a preview cruise, so I don't know if there's two different like stories that happen. Ours didn't really have a story. It was more of just songs that would happen. It was well done
because the one we went to was the Frozen one, and they had like this kind of like the storytellers, like the telling the story of Frozen or whatever,
right?
And singing the songs.
Yeah, and I know like on Treasure, Coco is that same restaurant, and they have two different. Those are true stories, and it happens over the 2 nights that you're eating in that room. This one, it was hard for me to say just because we were on a
quick one,
a different track. What else is really different? I mean, the Grand Hall looks the same. It's just really the theming. So where the Wish class ship is, I don't know that it would really, you could say that there's a theme to it. You've got Cinderella in the Grand Hall, but it's all just very like regal and light and like whites and blues kind of theming in there. But the spaces to me are not very congruent. You have Hyperspace Lounge for the bar, but then you have Tiana's, I forget what the bar is called, but it's Tiana themed. And so you just kind of have like weird things. Arendelle. For Treasure, that one's parks specific. So all of the spaces in there are themed to kind of a parks attraction. So you've got like a jungle cruise, you have a haunted mansion, you have it's mostly parks. On this one, it's heroes and villains themed, and they like push that heavily everywhere you go. You know that you're on a heroes and villains themed ship. I would say the decor itself wasn't as like vibrant and lush as the Treasure, but it's not as stark and light as the Wish class ships, and they do a really good job of like lighting. So in the Grand Hall, there's just lighting everywhere that you wouldn't necessarily see, but it kind of like wraps around the whole place. And so depending on who's in there and who's doing a meet and greet or whatever story or show is happening in there, the lights will change colors. So if Loki comes in, boom, everything turns green, and the whole thing is just cast in this like green light. With Cruella, it was red light.
But I think that's also framing the theming around more animated character, or like more like characters that have more
they're like
flamboyant,
iconic,
or they just have like these colors to them. Whereas like this the prince, if you're saying like the first one, the Wish is like princesses, they're very, humble beginnings till grand type of thing,
right?
Like the castles. But like having superheroes, like it's all tech, it's color, all these different colors, the the villains, the purples and greens and whatnot, and the music. So it's like there's a lot more attached to those characters and not just whimsy.
Yeah, it feels a lot more amplified than when because like I would be walking by the Grand Hall and it would be all green, and I'm like, oh, who's out here? And it's Maleficent up on the balcony. I'm like, oh man, that's super cool. So you could almost tell something was happening before you got there, which was really nice. Yeah. I liked that. Biggest difference though is the itineraries that all of these ships go on. So it really depends on where you want to sail out of, how long you want to sail. So the Disney Wish does 3 and 4 nights alternating, and it goes to Castaway Cay, which is the Castaway Cay, which is their private island. The Treasure is 7 nights only, and it either does like an Eastern Caribbean or a Western Caribbean track, and then that one also goes to Castaway Cay. The Destiny, the newest one, I get so confused on these names. That one is a 4 or 5 night sailing, and it will hit up Cozumel and then Castaway Cay and Lighthouse Point. So if you're wanting to go to Lighthouse Point on one of these Wish class ships, the Destiny is the way to do it.
Oh, so like you can't go to both of the islands on the old ships?
On Wish you can.
Okay.
Wish you can do it. On the 4 night it goes to both of them. But if you want like a... Oh, and the other thing is the first 2, the Wish and the Treasure, go out of Port Canaveral. The new Destiny ship goes out of Fort Lauderdale.
Oh my gosh. It's just like so many.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I got to keep that all up here at any given time. On top of the 4 ships that are out prior and the new adventure out of Singapore. It's like a lot.
They're pumping them out.
A wealth of knowledge up here. But yeah, so it really just depends. I think to me, it's a little bit of a bummer that it's going out of Fort Lauderdale versus Orlando, because I love tacking on like a couple days in the Disney parks before going on a cruise. But I also understand it. Like Fort Lauderdale's, it's a really well-established cruise terminal as well. And it's easy enough to get around down there. And you can always take the Bright Line from Orlando down. So it's fine. It works out.
Yeah, cool. All right, we kind of talked about like the heroes and villains stuff. How does that play into, like, I guess these, like you're saying track, like is that like, and again, in my head, I go back to Starcruiser, which we'll kind of talk about that. But how does that go into the story? Like, is there something like a story that you're watching, or is it just like, again, the theming of all the restaurants? They're either a hero or a villain restaurant.
There's some things that are very clearly, most of the stuff is very clearly heroes or villains. There's a few things that I'm like, I don't know that made sense on this ship, given that they pushed the heroes and villains theme so much. Like the Lion King dinner show, it's good, and there's one song that they sang that was with like Simba and Scar, but aside from that, they didn't really play on the heroes and villains trope that happens over the entire ship. Now, there's not some like overarching story that happens. It's just more of like the good versus evil. Same with the Haunted Mansion Parlor. Like, as much as I love the Haunted Mansion Parlor, I think it is one of the coolest spaces that exists on a cruise ship. Tell me the heroes and villains of that ride. Like, there's not. Like, they're supposed to be like cool ghosts. they're not villains necessarily. So I almost feel like putting Hyperspace Lounge
would have been better
in there would have been better, and then you could have done some really cool stuff with the screens and showing like fights, right? Like what are spaceships?
the space dogfights.
Yes, dogfights. That was the word I was looking for. I was like, the ships, and they're doing this and pew pew. I don't like Star Wars, can you tell? But I think they could have, there were some spaces where I was like, yeah, it made sense to replicate it, especially with Haunted Mansion, but I feel like they could have done different things with it. But with heroes and villains, a lot of the things that are special to this ship, like the little shows that they'll do in the Grand Hall, or in this case it's called Saga, but that's kind of like their little comedy club venue area where they'll do a lot of trivia and karaoke and that type of stuff. All of those things were themed to heroes and villains specifically, and that's where the magic of this ship really like kicked in for me, because you did feel like you were part of everything that was happening.
Yeah, so when you came back, or like you were on the ship, and you were texting me, and you were saying, like, it's giving me some vibes. It's giving me, these Starcruiser vibes, because they've somehow implemented more of these interactions, like private interactions, or smaller group interactions.
Somehow Starcruiser has returned. They have, and it shocked me. I will be completely honest, when Destiny was announced and it was heroes and villains themed, I was like, oh man, this is going to be dope. And then there was no mention of Star Wars. I was like, oh man, this is...
Well, but again, like a lot of what we talk about and what people kind of review is typically here's how the room looks. Here's what's in the rooms. This is what it looks like. Basically like the physical parts of it. And you don't really hear you get the shows, but not like the like cruise director interactions,
right?
Like the cast member interaction.
That's what's wild to me, is people don't talk about the cruise director stuff because it doesn't exist in a way that it does on the Disney Destiny. Like, I instantly lit up when I saw the very first time the storytellers came out. So on this, to give a little background, on the Wish, they don't have storytellers. On the Treasure, they have genies that are the storytellers. Their names are Sage and Coriander, but they don't interact or like immerse the audience.
It's more like a performance, like you're just watching it.
Right, it's a performance. On the Destiny, you have Zaya and Gamble, and the very first time I see them, and I don't know the order of operations, and I don't really know that it matters that much on a cruise because it's not one overarching story. It's more of just like telling little micro stories, micro events, and pulling people into those. And then just as a result of being involved in all of these little things, or at least just witnessing them, you feel like you've been following along this whole time. But the first one we watched was The Legend of Loki, and they're telling the story of Thor and Loki and their family and all of this stuff. And then all of a sudden, like, the lights go green in the Grand Hall and Loki comes out. And that one wasn't very interactive, but it was just like, oh, wow. The storytellers were so magnetic and engaging in just a way that you're like, I will listen to anything you have to say. And it just like instantly pulls you in with very low stakes because you're not having to like jump up and perform or be involved in any way.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, how do you explain that if you're just watching a show and you're an audience member and like that's what you are, like you're an audience member to watching a show, but what it seems like is more of you're like an extra as a audience member watching the show.
Yeah.
Where you're like, hey, I might be called on to do something. And it's not just, empty seats that you're performing to. It's like, no, there's people there that maybe I might call on you to come help me do this. And not in the way that it's like a normal call on an audience member type of thing.
Right. It's like going to watch The Price is Right. And maybe you get called down to be one of the contestants, and maybe you're just in the crowd like shouting things out at people. That honestly,
but you're actually going to be part of the show,
the production.
Yeah.
Truly, yeah. In more like I was shocked at how much some of the shows relied on a single person's depiction of the king in the Sleeping Beauty story. It's so well done. So the storytellers are there to basically tell stories of heroes or villains throughout the entire cruise. They do things like there's a comedy show. There's an adults-only comedy show called With Great Power that focuses on all of the Marvel heroes, and they talk about all of the attributes that make a great hero. It's 18 plus, it's late at night, and they use such a good job of technology and also like practical effects to just walk you through all these attributes, but they have you yelling things out and singing along and, taking advice from the audience and all of this stuff in a way that it felt like a comedy show, but it's Marvel and it's a little, I don't want to even say raunchy. Like, it's a Disney cruise ship. It's not like going on a Virgin cruise or something like that, or late at night for Royal Caribbean, but you're just like, oh, okay, like this is refreshing.
And that's what you're talking about, the that Deadpool coming in thing where he came in. Deadpool's a little bit more
risque. They're embracing Deadpool more and more openly, and so you had to have Deadpool when you do a Marvel comedy show just for adults. But that was really good. They do other things like Sleeping Beauty, the story. It's called A Mostly Accurate Story. And they pull somebody up to be the king. They pull somebody up to be the prince. They pulled somebody up to be the dragon. Like, they pulled a little kid up to be the dragon, and they do like slow motion fighting. And they did such a good job with inviting people to play. And that's something that I don't think we've seen in the Disney parks or on a cruise ship or anywhere since Star Wars or Star Cruiser.
Okay, so on that, I agree, but also disagree, because I feel like it's difficult because, or maybe it's for adults, right? Because at the parks, we'll see them pull a kid and you get like this magic moment. And maybe that's what it is like they're pulling not just kids, they're pulling adults that'll play along. Mm-hmm. And it's not just like to make you the knight in shining armor and bells type of thing.
Right.
And maybe that's what's the little bit of difference. But I think one of the big ones that kind of said, oh man, this is like straight up like it's Sandro making a song, was like they have a little jam session where people are sitting at the bar, throwing, ad libs at the singer, and they come up with the song. I was like, that is the same, different skin, the same character, different skin.
Yeah. So those are like kind of the villain centric ones that they do. So they had a few more heroes ones, like it was weird. They had like hero moves with Spidey in the Grand Hall, and so he teaches you like all the different like poses for a superhero. And then Electrode, he comes, and then you have to like use static electricity and dance to but he got people involved. It was really fun. And then there's like a little meet and greet afterwards. There was also Celebration of a King, where it's supposed to be celebrating Black Panther, and then of course like Loki's just there to cause chaos all throughout the ship, and so then he comes in and he takes over. But speaking of Loki and like the Sandro thing, the villains play a huge part in pulling you into the story. So it's not just everybody's there to be a hero. Like, you're not the hero of your own story. You could also be the villain and side with them, and they'll be like, hey man, go give this message to Spider-Man when you see him. And it's just like, you're not cool. Like, like they're just like very silly little things, but they give you like a little mission to carry out. And so with Cruella specifically, she had two things, and I'm like, it was like that the Leonardo
DiCaprio,
the meme where he's like, whoa, that's exactly what it was, because we're sitting in De Vil's bar, Cruella's bar, and all of a sudden the storytellers come in and we're writing a song for Cruella, and everybody's in on it. Everybody's shouting things out. It's electric. It was magnetic. And it wasn't the small group of like 2 or 3 people writing the song with them, like tucked in a corner of Sublight Lounge. It was everybody in on it and cracking up and singing along. And it was just this beautiful shared moment. And you don't get that anymore. You don't get that on a cruise ship. You don't get it on a spaceship. That's for sure. But it made me feel so many things, because I was just like, oh my God, like I didn't think I could ever feel the way that I felt on Starcruiser
somewhere else
again after. She also does Wretched Runway, which is a fashion show in the Grand Hall where I don't think they rolled out a red carpet, but they have it roped off. So you have a runway, and Cruella hosts it, and they have anybody dressed as a hero. So really whatever you want, a hero come out and they do like a little stroll. The villains come out and do a stroll. And then she has like a couture collection. So anybody that's dressed like Cruella is part of the couture collection. And then she tries to, get you on her side. But again, that felt like an even more amplified and electric version of the Outer Rim regalia like you would have on Starcruiser, because you had kind of like a track that you could fall into. You could be a hero, a villain, or a Cruella. And they have the cast members playing along and like showing you how to walk and what to do. And they did a very, very, very good job. And you have a character there. On Outer Rim Regalia, you didn't.
Yeah.
So they amplified that, and they made it a way that's very easy for anybody to participate.
I think that's the thing where it's different. It feels like it's different. It's more amplified, so it's not just to a smaller group, it's more to the bigger group, and you're going to have kind of off the wall type of ad libs, but it's a lot lower stakes for someone to get involved. They don't feel as like threatened by like, okay, well, maybe I don't know enough, let me not mention a deep cut. Like, no, they're just naming whatever and having a good time, so people are more apt to be comfortable just kind of like spouting something out.
Right. Yeah, it was much lower stakes. And because each of these were just their own unique little things, they didn't feed into the next storyline. So you didn't feel like if you spent too much time in the Sublight Lounge or in Haunted Mansion Parlor, you didn't feel like you were missing out on a major part of a story. Another really cool one is Dr. Facilier's parlor. And so I think he was in the Grand Hall at some point, which I kept calling the atrium, because like by the end of the cruise, I'm like, I'm on like a weird multiverse of Starcruiser, and I'm loving it. But the only time I ever saw Dr. Facilier was they have this thing, and all of this stuff. Here's the wonderful thing about it. All of this stuff is in the schedule on your Disney Cruise Line app. So it's not like you have to get a shoulder tap and get it added just to yours. Everybody can go to these things. It's just you have to know which ones are the ones that really like immerse you into it. Yeah. But Dr. Facilier's parlor, they only did it a few times, and they basically converted like a back room, like a photo, like a studio where you could go get professional photos taken into his parlor. It's like even like a the sign for it is just like a little
door cover.
And so you go line up, and for ours in particular, because I know some people had asked me and they were like, but what if you can't make it into it? Like, you just line up and they take in a group of like 10 to 12 at a time. So you're there with maybe your party and a couple other parties. But you go in, and it's because it's such a small group and the lights are really dim, and he's just so magnetic, and the character was so good. And then he does these like mind tricks, magic tricks with you, and it was he like dogged me pretty bad. But I walked out of there smiling, because I was like, this feels like I'm meeting with Sammy in the engineering room or Wraith in the cargo hold. It was that little like, don't tell anybody you're in here, but we're gonna do something that's really, really cool.
Yeah,
I was like,
it just feels intimate. Like, there's just those closer, intimate moments.
Right. So there's that one, and then there's also Maleficent. She has another show called Under Her Spell, where it's again in where the comedy show was, and she is recruiting everybody in the audience to her side, and she's recruiting everybody to go find Prince Philip and Aurora. And so I think she called 3 or 4 people up on stage, and she was like, what can you do for me? Are you strong? And somebody's like, no, I'm really not. And I don't think she was ready for that. And she's like, well, show me what you've got. And she's like, all I got is this. And she's like, well, we can work with that. She's like, I really don't think I'm your girl. And she's like, okay, you can leave. And then she pulls somebody else up, and, what do you have? Oh, I can talk. I'm like, okay, well, let's convince, like,
see, that's them like seeing who's gonna play and who's not gonna play. Like, okay, that's not playing. Like, okay, you could go if you want. The next person.
But in a really good way that stayed within character but moved the story along. And so the improvisation of all of the cast members that I like witnessed was absolutely incredible. But the cool thing about that one with Maleficent is, and with most of them, is they would have the show, and it would be a pretty short show, and they get people involved, and you're singing or you're cheering or whatever, and then once it's over, it's a photo op, it's a meet and greet type of thing. So you're already there, you get a little bit of a show instead of just like waiting in line for a character. So I thought that was a nice way to do it, where instead of interrupting the show and people are trying to take pictures when they're trying to get through their spiel and their story, they're like, okay, afterwards we'll meet with you. So I think that's a great way to structure it, because you already alluded to it. This is a cruise ship with all kinds of people. Starcruiser was incredibly niche. There was a very high dollar amount put on participating in it, but that weeded out a ton of people. So you knew that everybody that was going to this was going to give it their all. With a cruise ship like this, some people may want to participate and dive all the way in. Some people may not want to. And so every opportunity that they had to pull people into the story was done in such a beautiful way that even if you can't really sing or you can't really dance, it's low enough stakes. It's the Ryloth slide, man. Like, it's not that difficult to really like to be involved in it and feel awkward or uncomfortable. Like, they did such a beautiful job of including everybody that wanted to be included in this, in a huge, thousands of people on this cruise ship, right?
Yeah.
They did such a good job with, I was truly blown. I think every time I texted you, I was like, oh my God, another one. I'm like, I just witnessed an Outer Rim regalia like I've never seen.
Well, the crazy thing is we have the experience, and people probably listening and watching, they also have that experience of it, this very niche experience of the Starcruiser, but people now experiencing, they're like, oh man, we want more of this. Like, you don't know what there was because you never got to experience it. I think that's the thing, is like, there was all those things and more, like even more, nicheness and more intimate moments and storylines, and kind of collecting this, all these missions and doing the stories. So it's like, it's nice that there's like, they took that, learned from it, and saying, hey, let's try it in these other places. And that way there's this feeling of like, okay, we could actually have a different experience and not just go on a ship and drink pina coladas.
Right. Yeah. Then let me make it very clear. If you go on the Disney Destiny, is it Starcruiser? No. Absolutely. Of course it's not Starcruiser. You're not dressing up as like your original character and running around like a major story. But if you're wanting to go on a cruise and you're wanting some of that immersion that you felt from Starcruiser, or even if you just want to feel like you're connected to other people on the cruise ship, because every time we saw, it was a grandma that was playing the part of the king, in Sleeping
Oh,
Beauty.
you would see the king again.
And they gave her like a little, like a Burger King crown type of thing. And anytime you would see them, you'd be like, Your Highness. And she would, do a little bow for you and everything. Like, it was great. But it just built this camaraderie, very similar to Starcruiser, but on a massive cruise ship.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say enough good things about the immersive experiences on this ship. It was, like I said, I didn't think I could ever feel that way again. And is it the same? No, it's not the same. But it's the closest you're going to get. At least for now, right?
Yeah.
But it was very surprising to me to be able to do that again. Now, there is one thing. There were two things going into this that I really wanted to do. One was the Dr. Facilier's thing, because they had kind of announced that there was going to be this little backroom magic trick type of thing. And then the I didn't know about the troublemakers. I think that would have also been on my list. But there was also a scavenger hunt that was Haunted Mansion themed. And you have to have your Magic Band Plus to go boop around and do these things. It wasn't ready.
I think that's the struggle of being on a preview cruise.
And that's the thing, like, yes, we were on a preview cruise. I can't ding the ship for any of that. There were some like coasters and accessories with like the fancy cocktails that weren't available yet. Getting the timing of like dinner service. It's a brand new cruise ship. There's just things that aren't going to work right. And it is what it is. By the time other people go experience it, all of that stuff will be locked in and fine. So like, any of the negative experiences I had on the cruise ship, it's not me like, oh, I'm only going to show the good things. It's like, I also recognize like when you've done something for the very first time and when you've done something for the 20th time, things are going to run much smoother the more you do it. So it was, when are we going?
We're kind of talking about all the immersive stuff and how it gives us that feeling of Starcruiser. But what about like the shows? I know there's the Sanctorum, the Doctor Strange
Sanctum.
bar.
Okay, here, I will dog one thing on this ship. The names of some of these bars, especially if you're already partaking in drinks. Like the Sanctum, who's going to remember? The Sanctorium, I heard that call. I heard a lot of different words for that bar. There's also a Pirates of the Caribbean theme bar called Cask and Cannon. And I was trying to record voiceover for a reel and I kept calling it Cast and Cannon. And I think Canyon also. Anyway, so some of them, they made it very difficult to pronounce.
Very tongue twister like.
Even sober, difficult to pronounce. The Sanctum was really cool. They didn't, like I said, they didn't have some of the coasters and some of the things. But I feel like from the time that we've been on the Wish with hyperspace and a lot of the presentation there was like smoke bubbles and things like that. I feel like they've really upped the presentation of a lot of their drinks to this ship where they had the little like levitation thing, so it looks like your drink is floating. They're supposed to have a coaster that makes it look like your drink is like inverted somehow, which I thought was cool, but they didn't have that one available. At Cruella De Vil's, they had like a edible lipstick type of thing.
Oh, so yeah, I saw some of those.
They do some really cool stuff. With the Sanctum, I really liked the space, but the one thing that bothered me is it's in the same spot as the Tiana's bar and the Jungle Cruise bar, and they're open on both sides. And the Sanctum is supposed to be like, it's by definition, like secret and like tucked away. And so to me, it would have made more sense to put it in an enclosed space where it's kind of a little maybe hard to find.
Yeah.
Because you just walk right by and you're like, well, there's Doctor Strange's bar. But it was cool. They had some really cool like different specialty drinks across the board. You and I drink a lot of like whiskey and bourbon, and they didn't really have a lot of those. Okay. But if you like a gin or a vodka or bubbles especially, they had a lot of those available. Cool. Cask and Cannon was really fun. It's Pirates of the Caribbean themed, and so it's kind of that
all
one.
rum everywhere.
All rum. I was like, oh, beers and whiskeys and maybe some rum. It was all rum.
Yeah.
But it was good. They had a rum-based old-fashioned that I had one night that was really good. But then you also mentioned the shows. So the new show on this one is Hercules, and this is my favorite one, and for one specific reason. The show itself is great, and they did so many good things with it, but they did not eliminate the animal sidekick. Every Disney cruise we've been on, when we go watch the show, they get rid of Pua and Hey Hey or Raja on Aladdin. On this one, they had Pegasus, and it was the character itself was like great, but they themed it more like a gospel than anything, but the show was so good. I usually am like a one and done with a stage show, but I would go back and watch this one.
Nice.
Yeah.
So who do you think this, like, now that you've gone on kind of all their wish classes, who do you think is destined for the Disney Destiny?
Oh,
You like that?
I do like that. If you went on Starcruiser, 100%. I think this one is very.
But I mean,
much,
again, you're saying Starcruiser more because there's this, like, if you want that immersion,
if you know, you know
those points.
Yeah,
it's not Starcruiser.
No. But if you know, you know.
Yeah.
And that was the one that surprised me. The ship is very heroes and villains themed. So I feel like it's more for older kids. It's for people that love Marvel and they don't necessarily want to stick to like a Marvel Days at Seas. They want more characters. There's tons of Marvel characters. If you love villains, you're going to get so many villains on the ship. You get your standard like Fab Five and everything like that as well. Not a lot of princesses at all. So if your little ones are really into princesses, if you're really into princesses, you're going to get a little bit of that. Go to the Wish. But it's definitely, like, when they say heroes and villains themed, it's everywhere.
So now, do you think that these, like, little intimate points, these interactions, that they can start implementing more of that type of stuff into the other ships? I mean, again, I think that's just something, it's just a entertainment point. Like, if it was like a cruise director, or like you not having just crews or cast members that work for the ship, but actual cast members that are performers that are getting on there and remembering people's names.
Yeah, no, like absolutely. I think they could put it on any cruise ship, not even just the Wish class ships. They could put these types of more immersive story bits anywhere, because all they're doing is the Maleficent under her spell thing was like 10 minutes of Maleficent doing her little story and then 20 minutes of like a meet and greet. It was a 30-minute thing in the middle of the day. Like, that would be so easy to lift and shift to the other ones. And I would love to see that. I think that would be absolutely amazing. But you saying even like the cast members. So you know how they have kind of the cast members out and about at any time when there's like characters out, like the attendants and stuff.
Yeah.
The Maleficent attendant, she's wearing a cloak and like hunched over at the entrance.
That's what I'm talking about.
Welcome to the dungeon. And then anytime Maleficent would call people up, she'd be like, "You've been chosen." And she would shepherd them up there. So she's playing, she's in it. She's playing along. And that was the cool thing. Is just everybody there was just ready to play and play along.
But I think that's the thing, is like that play becomes more infectious when it's not just here's a character and then like, here's the ropes. You could get this close, but don't touch. But it's more of like, here's, the handler that's dressed up and performing. And then here's like maybe other people that are performing that are not, interacting with it. So it's like, it becomes infectious. We're kind of like, okay, well, I could play. Like, there's, I'm not going to be scrutinized because I'm making a silly voice or saying something silly.
Yeah. I mean, like, Loki's having you write a song about how great he is. And so, like, you're in there playing with the cast members and they're helping you. They're kind of like guiding you as to what to say. But then we're all singing along and he's like, louder. And so then everybody else sings in. They pulled you in a way that it was, again, anybody could play. Anybody. Little, big, old, young. Like, it was just, I never thought we would be having a conversation like this again after Starcruiser closed. I never thought we would have another podcast episode where we say the word Starcruiser or immersive so much. And so for this to happen and for it to be like a complete surprise to me, I think just made it even more just like, I felt like a little kid. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't been on a cruise in a little while, Sarah. So
well,
if you decide to take me on a Disney cruise,
do you want to segue that into Good Journey 2026? We are actually going on a Wish class ship.
Yeah.
So we're not going on the Destiny because I personally This was before. So we knew the Destiny was coming out, but I don't like to build an entire group trip over something I've never done before. And so we're going back on the Disney Wish. We're going to have Hyperspace Lounge and we're going to be there with so many wonderful people from the Starcruiser community. And honestly, what is it? It's the friends we made along the way. Yep. And so we're going to get those Starcruiser vibes. I'm so stoked about it. I'm so stoked for the barbecue up at Festival of Friends because it is my favorite cruise food, I think, across all of the cruise ships.
Wait, Festival of Friends?
Festival of Foods. Did I say Friends?
Yeah.
I'm eating the food of the Friends.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so we're doing that. That one is going to be over the anniversary of Starcruiser. So it's February 27th to March 2nd. And then like I said, I'm just so blown away with this cruise ship that I'll just put it out there. More than likely, the next one is going to be on the Destiny the next year because it's just, it's like a no-brainer. It was just so good.
Yeah.
But you heard it here first. But if you want to come join us in February of this year, just reach out to, we'll put a link in the bio or in the description.
There you go. Until next time.